Hi, my name is Owen Mason, and this is my final speech for speech class. Asking for help can be scary, especially when you know you can be vulnerable for asking for help. And being vulnerable can sometimes create uncomfortable situations. That's not something we typically seek out. I'm sure you or someone you know has been diagnosed, or you can tell that they're struggling with some sort of mental health issue. And when you see that, all you really want to do is give them help or help them find the tools that best fit them. I know I personally have been in a situation like that. I myself am diagnosed with clinical depression and clinical anxiety, and getting through that was a struggle. But I realized first and foremost that I had to be the one to seek out the help. It couldn't have people coming to me. I had to be the one to seek it out. And what I want to discuss today is how to normalize that, how to make those tools readily available for everybody. And I really want to put emphasis on the necessity for it. I want you to remember that it's not a small problem, or it's not something that can be fixed later. It's something that needs to happen now. We need to act fast. You might think it's just that one friend you knew, or that one family member, but it's not. It's a nationwide epidemic. 21% of adults experience mental health issues. That sounds like a small percentage, but that's 1 out of every 5 people that experience it. And that comes from the National Institute of Mental Health. That's also known as NAMI. But just like that fact alone was scary. But then when you consider the fact that 115 million people are in shortage areas, meaning they live in areas where they don't readily have that access to therapists, behavioralists, psychologists, or medications that they need to help them with their behavioral problems or their mental health issues or what have you. And that's something we can't keep allowing to happen. Going with that percentage of people who seek out treatment, only 11% of them, or 11% of them have no insurance. And that's another reason why I feel that it's been driving people away, is because they don't have coverage. So they're scared of having those, endless amounts of medical debt because they needed to see a therapist or talk to a therapist. That shouldn't be the reason why people are being driven away from getting treatment. The mentalhealthofamerica.org says that 46% of Americans could easily be diagnosed with some sort of mental health issue. And that's nearly half of our population. Half of our population is not seeking out medical help. And those are just the people who are not on record, and that's what they're estimating. It could always vary, but that is still a large number to keep in mind, and especially for people who can't get that help. It gets even worse when you look at kids. Kids 6 through 17, 16.5% of them experience mental health issues, and that's coming from the CDC. And those are our kids. Those are the ones we want to protect. We don't want to have to go to the same struggles that we did, but they're still hitting those same struggles, and we're not doing much to help them. And you can see this through this fact that suicide is the second most causes for death for that same age group. And that's also coming from NAMI. And like I said, those are our kids. That shouldn't be the second highest cause of death for them. It shouldn't be any sort of cause of death for them, but we seem to keep overlooking it. Now to get off the more bleak subject, the United States is starting to recognize it more and more as a problem, but we're still not quite there. We've had a rise in treatments for adults. In 2019, it was at 19.2% of adults with mental health issues were getting treatments, to now in 2022, they have 21.6%. That's also coming from NAMI. And that's, a very small increase, but an increase, and we'll take it. We'll take it where we can get it. Also for adults, suicide is no longer a top cause for death. That's another big stride. It's number 12 now, but it still shouldn't be on that list. Suicide shouldn't be a commonality or something that we see or hear about regularly. Out of those kids who are diagnosed, only about 10% of them get the medical treatment they need. That's another kind of bleak fact, but it just shows that they're being overlooked. And we need to start making it a necessity that they are not overlooked anymore and that they are heard. Another thing that's been on the rise recently is psychotherapy. And this is coming from psychiatrics.org. Psychotherapy is now on the rise with a 75% success rate. That's showing that these therapies are working. They're helping people better improve their lives and their daily routines so they can live a happier life. Mental health doesn't just go away, but it's definitely something we can mitigate and we can work on minimalizing the effect on our daily lives. So I just want you to take a minute and think about it. Do you know people who have mental health issues? Do you know if they're getting help? Do you know why they're not getting help? I think in the perfect world, they are getting that help. They're able to outreach to a facility and get a therapist that very day or that next day. It shouldn't be a long wait to try to find this therapist. If they need medications, they should be able to get it with pretty ease of access. Obviously, I understand we still need regulations on medications. You don't want people getting addicted and stuff, but it still should be something that everyone has access to. No one should be held back because of the fact that they have no health insurance or that they're poor or whatever social class they're in. That shouldn't be a reason why people can't get help. And that's what we really need to focus on. It's not a small problem anymore. I've stated the facts. 46% of these people, of Americans, can be diagnosed, but they don't because they don't seek out the help. And there's so many issues, so I want you to think about, the next time you vote, the next time you see some other people, start communicating this idea around that, it's okay to get help. We need the help. We need all the help we can get. Kids especially, I think they get super overlooked because of the fact that, it's just a kid being kids, but that could be ADHD. It could be some other sort of attention disorder. We just need to focus on that help. And we can't just pretend it doesn't exist anymore because it does. And yeah, that is my speech. Do you guys have any questions? Yes, you back there.
I understand your kind of personal connection to the topic, but in your daily life, how many people would you say you interact with that are experiencing symptoms like that?
Well, just in my daily life, there's quite a few. A lot of coworkers, one of my roommates, I couldn't tell you how many times I hear my coworkers talking about how they're depressed today or how they're feeling severely anxious because of a test coming up, but they're students, so they don't outreach for the help because they're already stressed enough with work, with school, and all these other things. And we just need to make sure that it's readily accessible. And those are the kind of people I'm talking about. They probably sound like they're joking or making a joke about it, but in all seriousness, you should probably ask them if they're okay and if there's anything you can do to help them. Like I said, for most people who have mental health issues, talking from personal experience, it never helped when people asked me. It wasn't until I was ready to ask for the help that it really made a change. But I think making it easier to access will make those people more willing to ask for it. Yes, you.
I do have another question. When you were finally ready to accept that help, what were the kind of first steps that you took in getting that help so that other people can get that too?
So I went through a system because my mother's a teacher, so I had to go through a system through her because it got me free sessions, so I was going to, of course, take that. But I had to first enroll into a program where I had to take a psych eval and I had to answer a bunch of questions over and over again. And then they would finally send me a list of therapists in my area that seemed well suited for me. And then I had to talk to those therapists or reach out to them to see if they had any openings or any available times until I finally found the one that I went to, and we came up with a routine, and the rest is history. Any more questions? Beautiful. This is my audience. Thank you.